Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Friday to you and yours. We made it. The weekend is here. I'm excited about the weekend. I'm excited about this show more than anything, today's show. It's going to be spectacular. There is major news popping off in the National Basketball Association. And you'll think it's just gossipy stuff, and that, hey, LeBron James confronted Stephen A. Smith. Hey, Charles Barkley went off on Kendrick Perkins. Hey, Kendrick Perkins took to Twitter to respond to Charles Barkley. You won't, I'm the only person that's going to be able to tie this whole thing together and tell you what it's really about. And I can't wait. This is a major story. If you love, care about, hate the NBA, if you're interested in what's going on in the National Basketball Association and what's going on in the sports world, really, behind the scenes, this is a can't miss episode of Fearless. You won't be able to get this anywhere else. No one else has the license, the freedom, or even the instincts to fully understand what this is really about. So if you're, and look, even the combatants, they don't even fully understand what this is about. Kendrick Perkins doesn't know. LeBron doesn't know. Stephen A. Smith doesn't know. Charles Barkley doesn't. Charles may know, but he's not at liberty to say. I'm at liberty to tell you what this whole thing is about. I'm going to do that today. We'll bring Steve Kim in at some point to discuss it even further. At some point, we'll bring Shemeka Michelle on, and we're going to have another discussion about Jasmine Crockett and her ghetto-ness. They've got this video of Jasmine Crockett before she went ghetto and after she went ghetto. Shemeka and I will talk about that. We'll play some listen or lose today. Someone's going to win $100 in Bitcoin from the Fold app. Look, if you're late to the Bitcoin process like me, if you're no expert on Bitcoin, but you want to know and you want to get in on free money and a great deal, Bitcoin isn't going anywhere. So why not start stacking some? Today, the Fold team hooked us up with an amazing way to earn Bitcoin rewards just for shopping where you already shop. Amazon, Uber, DoorDash, Lowe's, Home Depot, Airbnb, Southwest Airlines, Best Buy, you name it. More than 50 top merchants. Go to foldapp.com/Whitlock right now or just scan the QR code on your screen. New users get a Bitcoin bonus with their first gift card purchase. That's foldapp.com/Whitlock. Start earning Bitcoin rewards today, as someone will on this show today when we play Listen or Lose at the back end of the show. If I haven't run out of steam, there will be some extra content after Listen or Lose. I don't know if I'm going to be in the mood to go there again today, but I might be. And I might have to re-explain what I explained to you all yesterday about these closeted leftists and about Jeremy Boring, who took to Twitter last night to call me a Jew hater. And so I may just unload and explain all this again, that somehow me criticizing the Daily Wire's dumb idea of launching a Trump should pardon Derek Chauvin movement, how that criticism of like, hey, that's a dumb idea, Chauvin won't get out of prison, really, he'll go to state prison, how that somehow has turned into Jeremy Boring and the Daily Wire going full-blown woke leftist and really coming out of the closet like, hey, all the tactics that we say we don't like the left, that's racist. We'll actually do it. When punched in the mouth, we'll do the exact same thing. I may go into that at the end, but let me get to the topic of the day, and hopefully while you're here, and you should be calling your friends. I'm telling you, if you care about the NBA, you should be calling your friends and telling them to watch this show, because the NBA, this whole thing, if you've heard that LeBron James, I think at halftime or at the end of the game, he confronted Stephen A. Smith on the court, and there's video of that. Play that video while I talk about this just for a little bit. LeBron James confronting Stephen A. Smith courtside. And most people, lip readers, people that have seen this, I think they're trying to say LeBron said something about, hey man, keep my son out of this. And so that's LeBron James getting very smoky with Stephen A. Smith courtside. Stephen A. Smith has gone on television and confirmed that LeBron confronted him. Let's go ahead and play Stephen A. Smith's explanation of LeBron James confronting him. I believe this is SOT number 4. Let's play that clip.
That was LeBron James coming up to me, unexpectedly, I might add, to confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son. Can't repeat the words because they ain't suited for FCC airwaves. That's what he was doing. I thought long and hard about this over the last few hours because I had no intentions, Molly, of talking about this at all.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because it was a one-on-one, I wouldn't say a conversation, but it was a one-on-one confrontation. But then I wake up and everybody from ESPN and my agent and everybody else were sending me that this thing had gone viral. And so ultimately it was unavoidable, and that is why I have to discuss it now. That wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. That was a father. And I can't sit here and be angry or feel slighted by LeBron James in any way in that regard. By all accounts, he's obviously a wonderful family man and a wonderful father who cares very, very deeply about his son. And based on some of the comments that he had heard, or shall I say, I think he thought he heard, he clearly took exception to some of the things that he heard me say, and he confronted me about it. For the record, his agent and friend, Rich Paul, has my number. Maverick Carter, who works under him, has my number. LeBron James knows how to get in contact with me if he wanted to. He never called, because had he called and wanted to talk to me, I would have accepted that call. Had he wanted to see me, I would have flown out and I would have seen him and I would have had a conversation man to man. But that is not what he elected to do. Instead, he elected to confront me while I was sitting courtside. Ari Emanuel, the head of William Morris Endeavor, one of the agencies that represents me, along with Larry David, was sitting courtside. I was with them for the game. And he walked right up to me and he said what he had to say. And apparently he feels like I was slighting his son.
So that's Stephen A. Smith with his tail between his legs. He's been confronted by LeBron James. And that's fascinating. And that conversation will be going on the Shade Room and other gossipy websites and message boards and all of that. They'll be having that conversation. Oh, man, LeBron James confronted Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, back down. He didn't want that smoke. There will be that conversation. We're going to have a much larger conversation. We're going to get at the root issues and what this really signifies and how it's connected to the exact same thing that we saw on Inside the NBA last night on TNT when Charles Barkley had a rant that went directly at Kendrick Perkins and criticized Stephen A. Smith, not by name. So let's play the Charles Barkley rant.
I saw a fool idiot
on TV talking about the Lakers save the NBA.
Save the NBA.
Yeah. He's an idiot and a fool, but he know who he is. What's his name, Shaq?
Which one you talking about?
Kendrick Perkins.
Oh.
He said the Lakers, first of all, the Lakers have had a great 2 weeks. He said the Lakers saved the NBA season. That's because them fools on the other network, which we're going to be working for next year, that's all they talk about. Let me tell y'all something.
Tell me something.
And first of all, I want all the smoke. I don't whistle when I walk by the graveyard or anything like that.
I don't whistle when I walk by the graveyard.
Right.
I like that.
Hey,
one.
man.
I'm stealing that one.
The Lakers are doing great. Got a long way to go. But the reason the season's been going great for the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Y'all just want to talk about the Warriors and the Lakers. They're both doing great. Don't get me wrong. If I turn out to be wrong, I got no problem with that. But y'all are idiots because y'all talk about the Lakers and the Warriors all the time. Y'all don't. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won 12 straight games. The Oklahoma City got the MVP and they are on fire. Y'all are talking about who's in second place. That's the reason I get pissed. Between that and this lame-ass LeBron-Michael Jordan debate, which is lame. I've said for years, the only people talk about LeBron and Michael is people on television who got no talent to talk about anything else. I've been saying that for years. I ain't hanging on to the 90s. I've always said LeBron's great, Michael's great. But y'all talk about it all the time and then got LeBron out there posing, talking about he all mad about being the face of the league. But it makes me mad. The Oklahoma City and the Cleveland Cavaliers are the two best stories in the NBA this year.
Yeah, Shaq. Tell us how you feel.
Man. All right. Is this one of your favorite rants of all time?
Yes, it is. Thank you. I needed it on my birthday.
So Barkley went at Kendrick Perkins directly. He didn't name Stephen A. Smith, but he went at Stephen A. Smith directly. He's blaming Stephen A. Smith for participating in the dumb Jordan versus LeBron conversation. Be patient with me. I'm going to tie this all together beautifully. This is all getting at a much larger conversation. I'm going to go a tiny bit out of order because I want to address the Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James versus Michael Jordan conversation first. And I want to play you something that triggered Charles Barkley, in my opinion, that happened on ESPN yesterday. There's some content creator, TikTok star named Kai Cenat. I've heard the name. I assumed he was some rapper. I don't know who he is, but he's got a big following among Gen Z, I believe. And, you know, whoever's on TikTok and whoever's playing video games, everybody knows who Kai Cenat is. Yesterday, Stephen A. Smith had Kai Cenat on First Take, and they debated LeBron James versus Michael Jordan, and Charles Barkley didn't like it. Let's play SOT number 2.
You when it comes to LeBron James, you start hating. That's how I feel. Because I feel like you more of an older generation type of dude. You like Michael Jordan, cool. But listen, every time when there's a debate going on with you and with Michael Jordan and LeBron James, you always got something to say about LBJ. And I'm here to say, bro, LeBron's better than Jordan. I said it. I said it, bro. I said it, bro.
Man, something wrong with you. Something wrong with you right now.
Bro,
First of all,
Steven,
don't you even
level
think
that
about it.
Performing.
Don't you even think about coming on this show with that kind. Don't you do it.
Michael Jordan ain't never had 50,000 points. Okay, let's talk about that real quick, okay?
He ain't played 25 years.
James is 40 years old, and he's performing better than half of the people in the league right now. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Do you understand the greatness that's going on right now?
Hold on. This is the problem with the young whippersnappers like yourself. This is the problem, okay?
That triggered Charles Barkley. And I'm give me one more second to get all the way there and to make sure that we have all the context to understand what I'm about to say. And I want to read you Kendrick Perkins' response to Charles Barkley. This we'll all be up to speed, and now I can tell you what this is all about. So Kendrick Perkins took to Twitter, "Hey, NBA on TV, might want to tell that senior citizen Charles Barkley that I'll be around. when he see an idiot or a fool in person, make sure he keep that same energy. He can come playing with me if he want to, and I'm going to address his ass like numbers on a house. Straight from the 409, homeboy, and we bar none and fade all. Hashtag Texas boy. Let me translate that into English for some of you. When fade all means that we'll fight anybody. We bar none means we're not afraid of anybody. You know, we'll take on any and all comers. 409 is, you know, the area code, phone area code that he lives in. Did I miss anything else that might need to be translated? What did he say? Go back. Let me go back to make sure I didn't miss anything. Might want to tell Charlie, that keep that same energy. That's the little pet cliche phrase of, you know, make sure you approach me the same way you're talking about me on TV. Obviously, you probably caught the I'm going to address you like numbers on a house. It's all this ghetto shtick that Kendrick Perkins is doing. But let me now transition. What is this all about? The NBA is in free fall collapse. And behind the scenes, there are people blaming Charles Barkley, and inside the NBA, you've seen Colin Cowherd and his sidekick, Jason McIntyre, making the argument that, hey, inside the NBA, they trash the NBA, they downgrade the game. It's Charles Barkley and Shaq's fault. That's why the NBA is in collapse. That's why it's losing its relevance. That's why its ratings are down. That's why everybody's criticizing it. And McIntyre and others seem to want everybody to just put blinders on and to sell a weakened, softened, lazy game as great. That's what you do, blah, blah, blah. And so there are people blaming Charles Barkley. And Charles Barkley said, it ain't my fault. The NBA is in free fall because of the idiots over at ESPN who don't know how to talk about basketball. And they have, what Charles Barkley, again, he can't say all this because he's slightly reluctant and he doesn't want to go too far. But he's like, I'm the gold standard in studio sports TV. And ESPN has bought a knockoff handbag called Kendrick Perkins to pretend to be me on these NBA studio shows. And I'm offended by it. Why do y'all got this bad knockoff version of me, Kendrick Perkins, who I'm Charles Barkley. I'm one of the 20 greatest NBA players of all time, certainly in the top 25. I'm a legend. I'm a former MVP. I played in the NBA when the games and the titles and everything really mattered. Again, I'm a legend in the game and as a broadcaster, and you have set up a role player with a heavy Texas drawl who talks in, ghetto shtick to play the role of Charles Barkley on Kendrick Perkins. It annoys me. You're doing me a disservice. And he doesn't know how to talk about the game. And Charles Barkley's like, he's a groupie for LeBron. The Lakers saved the NBA. And he goes, this is a dumb conversation. No, they haven't. What Oklahoma City's been doing, what Cleveland's been doing, more focus on that. But ESPN has a gimmick of only talking about LeBron James and the Lakers and maybe a little Steph Curry and the Warriors. And Charles Barkley's argument is that, hey, you're partnered with ESPN. They're the worldwide leader in sports. They don't know how to promote your game. They've turned it into a discussion among idiots who know nothing about the game. Charles Barkley is saying Kendrick Perkins never mattered in the NBA, and Stephen A. Smith doesn't know a damn thing about the NBA, and he's got this fraudulent resume as some sort of former college basketball player. You got a clown. And and Charles Barkley sat and watched yesterday. Like, hey, this is the problem. You got some Kai Cenat, some midget TikToker, sitting on air talking about the NBA and arguing with Stephen A. Smith about LeBron James and Michael Jordan. And Charles Barkley saying, you've pitted LeBron James versus Michael Jordan for content, and ESPN needs to cut it out. And so I want you to think about the history of Charles Barkley. Who has he hated in sports broadcasting forever? Skip Bayless. He used to go on air and say, I'd beat up Skip Bayless, blah, blah. He has blamed Skip Bayless for the very same thing that either earlier this week or late last week, I told you all that, hey, man, Skip Bayless's shtick that started when LeBron James was 21, and that started on ESPN, that damaged LeBron James and it damaged the NBA. Charles Barkley, again, he can't go into this full explanation, but this is what's at the root of his explanation, because there's a massive conversation going on from the top of the commissioner's office to NBA ownership to all the TV networks and executives. ESPN has paid $2.6 billion for the NBA, for the right to broadcast NBA games. ESPN has walked away from Major League Baseball. And so there's a lot of pressure on the NBA to justify all the money that's being paid for its TV rights. And there's a lot of finger pointing going on. And Charles Barkley saying, ESPN and their idiotic shtick of pitting two great players, this violent feud that's been going on, verbal feud that's been going on between LeBron James fans and Michael Jordan fans, it's unhealthy. It's not good for the game. It's made Skip Bayless rich, and now it's going to make Stephen A. Smith even richer. News reports just coming out yesterday, Stephen A. Smith re-upping with ESPN, 5 years, $100-some-odd million. Charles Barkley, they're rewarding more of this stupidity that has the NBA in a bad place. Why are Michael Jordan and LeBron James seen as mortal enemies? He's saying ESPN did this. Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith did this. They sit on the air week after week after week, inviting idiots. This has been going on at ESPN, not just with First Take, but they're the leader of it. Hey, let's invite Kai Cenat on, a midget TikToker. Hey, let's invite idiot gangster rappers on, and we can always do. Idiot gangster rapper, who do you like, Jordan or LeBron? Barkley said ESPN has dumbed down the conversation about sports and made LeBron fans not like Michael fans, LeBron fans not like Michael Jordan, Jordan fans not like LeBron James. We've divided everything up. Basketball is this beautiful game, and we used to celebrate each other and celebrate the guys before us. But now ESPN, driven by Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, and this whole embrace debate movement started by Jamie Horowitz that has never gone away, it's destroyed the NBA. So again, Barkley's pointing the finger at ESPN. LeBron James, he's pretending like he's upset about Bronny James and the way Stephen A. Smith talks about Bronny James. That's the justification, because he doesn't want to tell LeBron James, or he doesn't want to tell Stephen A. Smith and the rest of the media what he's really upset about. He's never liked the way he's been covered by ESPN. LeBron James, as I said, and some of you all don't understand me, and Steve Kim came on here and just defended or just attacked me for my argument that, like, hey, man, I'm just telling you, LeBron James is sitting there saying, ESPN, Skip Bayless, and now Stephen A. Smith, they have been milking the LeBron James cow for 20 years straight. And Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James is saying, at my expense. They pitted me against Michael Jordan. And as I read to you all earlier this week or late last week when I started this discussion, that when I read to you all, here's Skip Bayless when LeBron James is 21 years old and just lost a tough playoff series I think to the Detroit Pistons. Here's Skip Bayless launching this attack on LeBron. Oh, he's no Michael Jordan. He's not clutch. He doesn't have the clutch gene. He's Bob. He started that when LeBron was 21 years old, just in his third season. And LeBron James, as I said, like, hey, there's a lunatic on TV attacking me every day and comparing me in a negative light to Michael Jordan ever since I was 21. And LeBron James is like, here I am 20 years later, and Stephen A. Smith is still doing it. Hey, let's bring on Kai Cenat, and let's, me and you, pit LeBron James and Michael Jordan against each other. And probably someone at Nike has probably finally figured out, like, hey man, this hasn't helped LeBron James, and this is why he never was the shoe salesman that Michael Jordan was. He couldn't reach those heights because ESPN put LeBron in this negative war with Michael Jordan. It's a fight LeBron James can't win. And LeBron James has figured out, like, holy cow, Stephen A. Smith is a big part of my problem. And look at the profits. They're about to pay this idiot. And trust me, LeBron James knows that when it comes to talking about basketball, and pretty much when it comes to talking about sports, he knows Stephen A. Smith is an idiot. He knows Stephen A. Smith is a fraud. He learned, just like everybody else, from this show that Stephen A. Smith created a false background about himself at Winston-Salem State University. He knows that Stephen A. Smith is a fraud, and he's like, and this dude's about to make $20 million. He's going to become even a bigger fraud and even more of an arrogant a-hole, and even he's going to continue to dive into and host these ridiculous LeBron James versus Michael Jordan discussions. And so LeBron, using his son as a shield and as a way to deflect and mislead people about what he's really upset about, he steps to Stephen A. Smith and just quickly, hey man, keep my son up out of this. And his real message is that he can't say, but he's letting clues off. And maybe, again, because I used to know Rich Paul and Maverick Carter, and maybe they're smart enough to know, Jason Whitlock will connect these dots. Because people think I hate LeBron James. I hate a lot of the things LeBron James does. I don't hate LeBron James. And I have come to realize and had to admit that, like, I think LeBron James would have been a different person had this Skip Bayless shtick never taken off and been allowed to exist for 20 straight years. We made LeBron an angry person. LeBron James is a happy-go-lucky, I want to pass the ball to my teammates and I want to do little dance steps on the court and I want to celebrate and go kick it with my teammates. That's who LeBron James is. We made him an angry social justice warrior. We made him someone that sees the world through this lens of, man, these white folks is out here exploiting me. Look at Skip Bayless. This system's out here exploiting me. Look at Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith and ESPN. We made LeBron James polarizing. Yes. Did he participate in it? Yes. Did LeBron James, he may have gone a different direction. This isn't a criticism, it's just a statement of fact. LeBron James didn't have a father to help walk him through this. He's had to rely on others. And others tend to just see the bottom line and, hey, we're all making money and we'll fix that problem, we'll fix this later on. Whereas a father has a wisdom. Even if he doesn't have expertise, he has a wisdom that he will impart onto his son, and he'll be looking out well past what instant, immediate gratification. This is a properly functioning father. Would be looking past instant gratification and would have sounded the alarm years ago, like, hey man, y'all can't do this. This is going to destroy me. I'm taking on the legend of Michael Jordan. I can't win that fight. It's going to undermine me as a salesman for Nike, It's going to make me polarizing to a certain segment of the fan base. And if the NBA had a good commissioner, the commissioner would have seen this years ago and would have said, like, hey, ESPN, cut it out. LeBron James is the Pied Piper of this league. You're making him polarizing. You're making him angry. Our other players, you're making him selfish. Our other players are going to follow his lead. And the next thing you know, we'll be sitting around in 2025 and going, hey, man, everybody hates our league. Everybody is denigrating the style of play. The WNBA actually has more momentum than us. And LeBron's legacy is going to be that he was the player on top that helped lead to the destruction of the NBA. So everybody's just pointing fingers. Everybody's like, it ain't my fault. Yes, the NBA is in free fall. Yes, fans are dissatisfied with our game. Yes, our game is trash. Yes, the brand of our players has been destroyed. Who did it? Point a finger here, point a finger there, point finger. No one, people, it's LeBron's fault. No, it's Charles Barkley and TNT's fault. No, it's ESPN's fault. It's all of y'all. It is all of y'all. And obviously, in this scenario, I have a bias towards Charles Barkley. I still consider Charles Barkley a friend, even though we haven't talked because, you know, it really hasn't been safe for someone like Charles that high up in legacy media to talk with someone like me. But I still consider Charles a friend, and I still consider Charles a good person. Because Charles, despite having a bit of a temper, Charles is mostly a good person and a fun-loving person. If you've ever been around Charles, Charles wants everybody to be happy and to smile, and Charles is one of the most generous athletes in the history of sports. He'll give away the shirt off his back. Charles is like a really good dude. And Charles, though, in this defensive posture he's been put in as all the finger pointing goes on, he's a tiny bit out of character. And I tried to share that last night in terms of like, hey, Chuck, you've put Kendrick Perkins in a real bad spot. Called him an idiot. You called him, a fool. And you said something about, I don't whistle when I go by the graveyard. I want all the smoke. And look, Kendrick is a 6'10" basketball player. He's not some sort of intellectual. And so Kendrick responded in a very ghetto and inappropriate way, in my opinion, because that's what he feels like he's been forced to do, and that's the posture. I gotta appear tough. And I actually tweeted out or posted on X, and to call it up, I want to call up my tweet where I was like, I'm giving Kendrick a suggestion. And here's what Kendrick Perkins really wanted, because we put it up in my prompter. Kendrick Perkins and my response to him on Twitter. Anybody listening to me? I want, yes, we do. It says here on full screen. No, we don't have it. All right. I'll go to I can do it myself here. My bad. I can do it. I gave a suggestion. Yeah, that here's what Perkins should have said, because this is what he really feels. Chuck, I'm not above criticism, but I have a wife and kids, and there's no reason to call me a fool and an idiot. You could respectfully disagree with me without getting this personal. My kids love hoops and watch your show. Your personal attack makes me want to defend myself. As the elder, you should set a better example. And that is true. As elders, we should set a better example. Charles has unintentionally, or perhaps intentionally, challenged Kendrick's manhood. And Kendrick Perkins said, oh, my kid is going to ask me about this. And so he runs out, and I'm going to show you how tough I am. You know, I'm a 409 homeboy, and we bar none, and we fade all, basically saying, I'm from this part of Texas, and we'll beat up anybody, and we ain't scared of nobody. It's all ghetto talk, and it somewhat proves Charles's point. It's like, look at ESPN and these guys that they employ. This is their response to everything. I'll fight. There's no maturity. There's no standard over at ESPN. No one's held accountable. And people will say that, hey, TNT's got the same standard for Charles Barkley. And most of us that are wise and smart would say, nah, Charles doesn't do that. He's got a shtick that's been going on for 30 years, 25 years on TV. But Kendrick Perkins is doing a bad impersonation of Charles Barkley. But Charles is wrong here. There was a way to communicate that, Perk, man, you don't know what you're talking about. All y'all do is sit up and talk about the Lakers and the Warriors, and you're up here saying the Lakers, after playing a couple of good weeks, they saved the NBA. That's silly and stupid. Could have said all that. Said it in an aggressive way that provoked someone who's not a intellectual genius to respond in a ghetto fashion. But all of this, all of these guys are feeling immense pressure for the shape that the NBA is in. It's bad basketball. The players load manage and don't want to play. Fans are dissatisfied with all the jacked up three-pointers, all the traveling that's gotten away with, all the half-hearted play from all-star game to regular season games. Everybody's finger pointing. That's what this is all about. LeBron James delivered a message to Stephen A. Smith and everybody at ESPN. I don't like the way y'all talk about me. And I'm going to pretend like you've said something bad about Bronny, but his real message is y'all put me in a bad spot. And I want, out in front of everybody, Stephen A. Smith, I'm going to let him know. I'm going to let everybody know you're a part of the problem. Bring Steve Kim on, get his reaction to any and all of this here in a second. Before we do that, I want to talk to you about myself as a homeowner here in Nashville and in Florida and Indiana. One of the things I've had to do is protect my home title, because anybody that knows me, I'm not the most organized and buttoned up person on the planet. The details sometimes escape me. I'm a creative person. So did you know that scammers can literally steal your home right from out from underneath you? The FBI calls it house stealing, and it's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee, and file it with your local recorder's office. And just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity as collateral, or even sell the property behind your back, and you won't even know it's happening until you start getting collection or foreclosure notices. So let me ask you, when was the last time you checked your home title? You're like me, not very often. And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. That's why I trust Home Title Lock. Their $1 million triple lock protection helps keep your home and equity safe. Here's what you get: immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property, urgent alerts if there are any changes. And if fraud should happen, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title at no additional cost. And here's the best part. I've teamed up with Home Title Lock to give you a free title history report so you can find out if you're already a victim, and access to your personal title expert, a $250 value just for signing up. Go to HomeTitleLock.com, use my promo code FEARLESS250, or click on the link in the description. And make sure to check out the $1 million triple lock protection details when you get there. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code FEARLESS250, to get the protection and peace of mind you deserve. Korean Coast Sell, Steve Kim, next. Men, it's time to rise. Our country, our faith, our future, all under attack. I'm bringing the boldest voices to Nashville. Roll Call 3.0 is your call to action. Join me, join Tucker, and let's take a stand together. May 2nd and 3rd in Nashville. I am Jason Whitlock, your host.
Went without so that he could give you an abundant life. Now it's time for you to evade the ego trip so that someone else can live better. Amen.
It's necessary that we decide to become men of character, of godly intent.
He gives power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he increases strength. Even you shall faint and be weary. Young men shall utterly fall. Jason, I know you called it to preach off, but I feel like preaching up in here right about now.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 reason that I'm back is to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 so fly.
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim, welcome back to the show. What's your thoughts on the histrionics and the confrontations going on in NBA media?
I am so naive. Here I thought, and again, I didn't have the volume on. Here I thought LeBron was congratulating Stephen A. Smith on an enlightening conversation and how much he enjoyed it with Candace Owens. Wow. and bad news in light of this. Stephen A. Smith's polling numbers in Akron, Ohio are down 38%, so that puts a dent. That puts a dent into that 2028 run. Big news. But okay, couple things. What does it say about the current association that this stuff is more interesting than anything that goes on the floor, Jason? That's the question that I have. Honestly, if the league and the games were better and more compelling, this would be it wouldn't even be happening. It really wouldn't be. If the games were actually more meaningful with guys that cared and the fans were more engaged in the games, okay, this stuff here would be a slight little distraction. It'd be amusing. But as I peruse the Twitter timeline, no one's actually talking about, well, not nobody, but very few people are talking about the Lakers with another thrilling win over the Knicks. They made a comeback in the second half, I guess. We're talking about Kendrick Perkins against Charles Barkley and LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith. What does it tell you?
It tells you, I can't use the word on the second half of this, you got a full-blown NBA cluster going on. And
cluster fudge. Got a cluster fudge here.
Yeah, cluster fudge. You got a full-blown, and everybody's feeling the pressure. LeBron James, at the very end of his career, is like, holy cow, my legacy is going to be that I was the leader of the cluster fudge. Charles Barkley, holy cow, I'm going to be blamed as someone who helped create the cluster fudge. Stephen A. Smith, hey, I'm collecting a big paycheck off this cluster fudge, and I don't want to be blamed for it. But yeah, the reason why everybody's talking about it and there's this tension is because the league is in shambles, man. The league is in shambles.
So let's deal with the first one. Kendrick Perkins, Charles Barkley. I was amused highly, and I'm going to give it to Perkins, the old Perk. I'm going to address you like numbers on a house. Clever. He's got bars. I'm going to call him Nasrick. That was Illmatic. That was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. That was pretty good, but I'm going to say something. I actually thought it was a little bit unfair of Barkley to point out Kendrick. I could see why Kendrick reacted like that. I know you may not like his reaction, but I could see why, instead of saying, hey, this whole network or this whole ecosystem of the current NBA media is doing it, to point out one guy, because he's not the only one, to be fair, I could see why Perk reacted the way he did. We may not like it, we may not justify it, but I understand it. With that being said, Barkley could fight a little bit. Not a lot, but by NBA standards, I guess he was Ernie Shavers. I still remember the original Malice at the Palace. Do you remember that, Jason, in 1990?
Of course.
This is when Rick Mahorn, the former Piston, had gotten to the Sixers, and Jimmy Lynam was the coach. They had a pretty good team that year. They actually won 50 games, right? They played the Pistons in Auburn Hills, and it was one of the greatest fights or brawls I've ever seen. Everyone wanted a piece of Lane Beer, and I got to give Lane Beer credit. He kind of stood up for himself, and both teams got into it. And you know what? That NBA action, that was fantastic. That's what we need to do again. That's what we need to go back to. So Barkley is not afraid of confrontation, but I think Barkley's also said, I'm old and lazy. I'm not getting into this. I'm really not. But the point that I want to make here is, Jason, I've said this to you, I think last year, when the report started circulating that TNT may be getting out of the basketball business. So the NBA on TNT may not have a home inside the NBA. I believe that their best way to continue that show was to go independent. It's a bad fit at ESPN. It doesn't fit. The strength of that particular franchise is that it's as unfiltered as you can possibly be being on a major network. To me, I think Charles just let it out of the basket yesterday. We don't belong there, and it's not going to work.
He certainly did do that. And I don't think ESPN's going to hit, well, who knows what they'll do, because they're going to have to choose a side. Or maybe Barkley is trying to set it up that, hey, keep those guys away from us. We don't want them on our show. And it seems to be he's even including Stephen A. Smith in that, because don't you think, there's two things I want to ask you here, but let me do them in order. Don't you think the Kai Cenat deal yesterday triggered Barkley? And it's just like, we got who is this guy? And he's on TV arguing about Michael Jordan and LeBron James. This is the problem.
You know, I never thought they'd be able to replace the fill the shoes of Lil Wayne. But here they go, and they said, you know, we're going to raise you a Kai Cenat, or whatever his name is. I guess he's the Hubie Brown of the inner city. And if he says LeBron is better than Jordan, then you know what? It must be so, because, you know, that's a trusted name in NBA history. That's a guy that's a true historian. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, as I look at that clip, even Stephen A. was like, guys, again, that may have been his idea. I get the sense that even Stephen A. Smith was a little bit uncomfortable and felt it was a cringeworthy segment.
Well, ESPN doesn't care, and I don't think Stephen A. Smith cares. All they care about is Kai Cenat has a huge audience, and they wanted to tap into that. I think the guy's got 20 million social media followers or something on TikTok. Okay, so that's part one. Part two is, I think Barkley recognizes that Kendrick Perkins is a bad imitation of Charles Barkley, and that bothers Charles Barkley.
Okay, does anyone, look, I give Kendrick credit for this. He played his role well. He was the sixth option on an offense, okay? But that was his role. And I don't mean that as a pejorative, believe it or not. The teams that he played on, he had to anchor the defense. He had to be physical. He had to set screens. He had to do all those dirty things that nobody appreciates except coaches. And to his credit, he played it well. He had a long NBA career. It is not easy to make that league and stick. With that said, when Charles Barkley says anything, people really care, because that Inside the NBA show is iconic, and Charles Barkley is one of the 20 greatest players that ever lived. So both guys could say the exact same things word for word. Jason, who's going viral? So I don't think they're on the same level. I really do. I just think, to me, Charles got particularly perturbed or annoyed by what was going on, and maybe Kendrick was just a convenient target at the time. That's my view of it.
I got you, but no, Charles certainly doesn't think Kendrick Perkins is on his level as a broadcaster, as a player, the whole nine. But he thinks ESPN thinks, yeah, Kendrick Perkins is going to come over here and play the Charles Barkley role. And Charles, they got this. You couldn't get someone that averaged 18 points a game and 7.5 rebounds to come play the role? I mean, it doesn't have to be a Hall of Famer, but it could be somebody that was Karl Malone. He wouldn't take your calls? What?
Okay. Karl would not have worked out in that role. There's a lot of issues with Karl that would have came up from the past. I hate to say it. Okay, no disrespect to the mailman. I see your point. But, now that I think about it, you do make a good point. Generally, those roles are reserved for Magic, who used to be part of that team, even a Richard Jefferson, who had a really good NBA career. He was probably a better player. You don't see a lot of role players.
Buck Williams, Charles Oakley, Horace Grant. I mean, Kevin Willis. I mean,
wow, you're right about. You just went through a
Tom
laundry
Chambers.
list. Oh, Tom Chambers, 87 All-Star Game MVP, right? Perennial
Jack Sikma.
All-Star. Okay, all right, Sikma, all right.
Elvin Hayes.
Let me get Danny Shea. I get Paul McKeskey.
Yeah.
You know, like
Alex English.
Hold on, Alex English is a Hall of Famer. So you went a little far with that.
I know.
Well, you may have changed my mind on that. That perhaps Barkley thinks, wait a minute, you're getting into conversations that are above you. Like you could talk about basketball, but when you want to start making comparisons and critiquing Hall of Famers, maybe, again, this is just my theory here, you're not good enough to even have that discussion. But at the same time, look, Kendrick Perkins played the game. And if guys like you and I can have that discussion, certainly Kendrick Perkins can. We have to be fair about this.
Hey, look, no one has a problem with us having a conversation, but don't set him up there like he's got the country drawl like me. He's a good old boy. He's up there imitating me. This is an insult. Did James Worthy not take your phone call? Did Michael Thompson not take your phone call?
Michael would be good. I'm partial to Michael. Yeah. I'm partial to Michael. Just so you know, I'm biased there. Just so you know.
Yeah, it's literally his point is like, look at ESPN and the clown show they got going on in terms, look at TNT. Charles Barkley, MVP, played in NBA Finals. Shaquille O'Neal, MVP, 4 rings. Kenny the Jet Smith, 2 titles with the Houston Rockets. Hey, that's who discusses the game. Over there, hey, Kendrick Perkins, 2 or 3 women for the WNBA.
Yeah,
and Stephen A. Smith, who has a fraudulent basketball resume at Winston-Salem State and knows nothing about sports. Charles Barkley said, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Leave it to people that actually know the game and have leverage or clout in the game to discuss this, rather than WNBA players who actually know more about basketball than the guys you got talking about it.
I'm going to go back to this again. Inside the NBA was better off creating their own channel or network and being fully independent, completely taking the handcuffs off their content, and it would have been buck wild, or just shut it down. Them being forced as a square peg into a round hole of ESPN/Disney does not and will not work, in my opinion.
Steve, I'm going to move on from this, and I want to add, there is something fascinating going on in the NFL, in my view. The Cincinnati Bengals have just said, Joe Burrow, you're going to have to take us to the Super Bowl all by yourself. We're going to sign these 2 receivers, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but we're going to let go one of the 5 best defensive players in the NFL, Trey Hendrickson. You can go seek a trade. We don't want to pay you what Maxx Crosby just got paid. I know that you led the league in sacks last year. This past season at 17.5, you were second in the Defensive Player of the Year race. You're the only thing that really is clicking on our defense. We're going to let you go, and we're just going to outscore people. I don't think this is the right decision. And I know Trey Hendrickson is 30, and he didn't really become a star until his maybe 3rd or 4th year in the NFL. But I think there's some tread left on the tire. I wouldn't be giving up on Trey Hendrickson at 30 years old. What do you think of this decision?
Number one, traditionally, the Bengals are among the cheapest franchises in all of sports. They really are. The Brown family, they're not exactly the Steinbrenners or the current-day Dodgers. Let's just put it that way. But, when you have a salary cap system, you have to make certain decisions. And I guess to pay Peter, you got to rob Paul or release him. So if you really believe that a number 2 receiver in T. Higgins, who's really good at being a number 2 receiver, is more valuable than a pass rusher that can close out games. I think that's a very, very interesting decision. When it comes to T. Higgins, I'm not making a direct comparison, but we all remember Alvin Harper. Remember Alvin Harper? He was the greatest number 2 receiver for Michael Irvin. He was perfect in that role. When he became a number 1 receiver, he flew into the Bermuda Triangle. He never really made an impact again. Now, I do think that T. Higgins is a more well-rounded receiver than he was, and in today's NFL, he'll still get 1,000 yards. That's not my point, but I think certain guys are destined or made for certain roles. Jamar Chase is a true number 1. T. Higgins, I think, can be a number 1. I'm not so sure he's an elite number 1. With that said, if you're the Bengals, why not come out of your shell financially for once in your franchise's history and say, you know what, we have a 2-3 year window. Let's try to do something contractually, because Hendrickson is a commodity that is very valued in the National Football League. That is a pass rusher, a guy that can come off the edge when you have a 10-point lead with 6 minutes to go and the other team's in a throw game, you close it out. This is, to me, I don't know if it's a deeper trend of what you talked about this becoming the NBA and people kind of demanding trades. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that the Browns are a very frugal organization.
Bengals. You mistakenly said Browns. But here's the other aspect of this that I think they're thinking of. Joe Burrow has an injury history. They haven't protected the passer that well. And so part of their calculus may be, it's not just a T. Higgins, Jamar Chase decision in receivers. It's like, hey, we still may need to upgrade our offensive line, and we need these receivers so that Joe can get the ball out of his hands quick if we don't upgrade the offensive line. Because this guy has been beat up, and that's kind of the knock on us. And so it might be they've prioritized, because of Joe Burrow's injury history and because of how many times he's been sacked in the first 4, 5, 6 years of his career, that we got to go all offense here because we got to look out for our quarterback. Whereas the Chiefs seem to have made decisions previously like Patrick Mahomes will be fine. Let's make sure we keep Chris Jones. Let's make sure that Spagnuolo and this defense is really effective. And Patrick's so talented that we'll make do offensively. It's probably the injury history with Joe Burrow that may be driving a bit of this.
Yeah, and look, they are looking to do a trade. So the question I have, what is acceptable to the Bengals? Do they want to go all draft picks, or are they expecting a young veteran starter? And are they looking to ramp up the offensive line? Can they get a quality starter? And again, I get the sense that Joe Burrow understands, look, I'm running out of time here. He had one great postseason. Last year, he had a historically good season statistically, but guess what? They still did not make the tournament. But there used to be a time when you had more than 15 sacks. You were the most valuable commodity on a defense, and nobody would ever think about getting rid of you or allowing you to leave. But this is a new game. But it's interesting with the salary cap, though. It raises every year. And you're right, Hendrickson has not been a dominant player throughout his career. This is not Bruce Smith from day one. They're probably making a calculated decision that the apex took a while, and then at this point, at around age 30, there's going to be the inevitable decline. But again, we are talking about a very, very cheap organization here.
I wonder, when I start thinking about trade partners, I wonder what the Chargers are going to do on the other side of Joey Bosa, and if they have draft capital and an offensive lineman that they might be able to spare. Obviously, they wouldn't give up Joe Alt, who they just drafted and, I think just completed his rookie year. But maybe they got a starting level offensive lineman that they could spare and a draft pick. And now the Chargers have fixed their pass rushing problem on the other side of Joey Bosa.
They also have Rashawn Slater, who, when healthy, has been really good. Okay, but we know one thing about Harbaugh. He likes to be good up front. If you have a tandem or a young offensive lineman that's really good, You have a quarterback that some people think is elite, Big Boy Herbert. Okay, and you rely on the running game. The last thing I would do, in my view, is to disrupt that offensive line. Because I know one thing about Harbaugh. He really values the big boys up front. So I don't know if the Chargers would be a great fit.
Steve, I'm going to send you off into the weekend. I don't know, what fight are you watching this weekend? Is there a fight this weekend? But I'm going to send you off into the weekend.
Yeah, Kendrick Perkins against Charles Barkley. That's the one I'm looking forward to. By the way, one last thing about Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
I got to mention this. Jason, has he actually said anything completely out of bounds that anybody else hasn't about Bronny? Really? I don't.
No, he hasn't, and that's why I don't believe it's about Bronny. I don't think it's about Bronny. I think LeBron is frustrated with the media, ESPN. I think he looked at that Kai Cenat deal, the same deal, and was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but Jason, your point that LeBron, and I'm not disagreeing or agreeing, but you said LeBron doesn't like the way ESPN covers him. That would be like the Democrats telling MSNBC, man, you guys are unfair to us. You guys are really unfair to us at MSNBC and CNN. Okay. I think this whole
Steve, I understand your point. What I'm saying is that LeBron has been saying that it's like going into a doctor's office, or maybe you get frustrated with your doctor. The doctor has diagnosed one problem. And then maybe you go to a chiropractor, some holistic person, and they say, you know what your real problem is? It's this. And the doctor's never going to tell you this because he's not trained to look for this, blah, blah, blah. And so what I think is we've all sat and looked at LeBron and the way he's been covered, and we've been hyper-focused on the people kissing LeBron's rear end, and we've taken notice of the Skip Bayless, LeBron versus Michael thing, but we go, oh, that's not a problem. That's not what's killing LeBron. It's X, Y, and Z. And LeBron has come to the realization that no, this whole Michael Jordan versus LeBron thing, that's what's killing me. And so you have to take a step back and go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I didn't think that was much of a problem. I actually thought that elevated LeBron. LeBron just has a completely different narrative on it. And I think I'm sympathetic and open to the possibility. You know what? He's right. We've pitted him in a battle with Michael Jordan, with a ghost, with a legend. How are you ever going to topple that? You can't. They picked a fight for LeBron that he cannot win.
Well, look, I don't even engage in LeBron versus Jordan because I think that's already a unanimous decision. He can't overcome the gap, in my view. But I have a theory, though, and I think this relates a lot to politics and the mainstream media. The harshest critics of LeBron that is gaining traction is not the legacy media. It's the independent media, guys like Scap Attack, Uncut Hoops, guys of that nature, Dreamers Pro. And if you look at their
Jacob
numbers,
the Clipper.
Jacob the Clipper. And you have Apex Jones on Twitter, guys of that ilk who do a great job. And Jordan Muse, a lot of Twitter accounts that have great track. If you look at the number of views that these independent outlets are getting, they're getting major numbers. It is no longer CNNs and MSNBCs of sports, and that scares two people. Number one, the people that they cover, the politicians who are used to getting soft coverage on these outlets, and then the outlets themselves, because now they're worried about their place in the hierarchy. I'm just telling you, most of my consumption of sports content now in terms of research and getting commentary does not come from television. It's actually on YouTube. And these guys are pretty good, not pretty good, damn good. And they're also very, very, very well researched with large audiences on a daily basis.
The argument LeBron would make, who built the appetite, the audience for the LeBron versus Jordan debate? They would say Skip Bayless and ESPN did it. They would say Skip Bayless and ESPN. Let me give you, here's another example of just how corrosive that shtick, Skip Bayless. Tim Tebow, he would not have had near the problems he had if Skip Bayless weren't sitting on TV trying to drive it down. Oh, he's a Super Bowl quarterback. He's this, he's that. He's the greatest thing since sliced bread. He made Tim Tebow polarizing. Tim Tebow's another just good guy full of positive energy. Skip Bayless played a role in turning him polarizing. And let me make one other, I think, compelling argument here. Kobe Bryant never was pitted in a competition with LeBron James. And in Kobe Bryant's retirement and post-career and now death, his stature continues to elevate because he's not pitted in a fight against Michael Jordan. It's almost like a boxer trying to take on Muhammad Ali's legacy. You can't win that. And so if Mike Tyson had been pitted against, well, he's not Muhammad Ali. That's not how we enjoyed Mike Tyson. We enjoyed like, oh my God, he's the knockout king. He's coming. Look at what he's doing and blah blah. And we didn't burden him with, hey, you got to be bigger and better, and you have to stand for as many different things as Muhammad Ali did. We just enjoyed Mike Tyson, and he got to be great outside of a discussion of Michael Jordan. LeBron hasn't had that benefit, and that conversation may have been forced on LeBron rather than LeBron seeking it. I got to call balls and strikes. I'm not a LeBron James guy, but I do think he has a side to his story here that needs to be.
I'm going to be watching Inside the NBA religiously now. I want to see. We can do this. I mean, Jake Paul's now a promoter. I think he's scheduling a fight with Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor at Madison Square Garden, June 11th. Now, the NBA Finals might still be on, but we should do, I'm going to do both heavyweights, 20-ounce ring. We'll go 1-minute rounds, because I don't think their cardio's any good. We'll go 16-ounce gloves. I'd rather not do headgear. Pay-per-view bonanza. You know what? This is right on. Only in America. Get down, King. You know what I mean?
Enjoy your weekend, Steve. I'm going to get to Shemeka Michelle. We're going to talk about Jasmine Crockett. Next.
ESPN sucks. No, let me finish my point. You don't care about small markets, and for you, it's always box office. You're a New Yorker that's an Alabama fan. It's just not sexy enough for you, but you're seeing it through your lens and not through all football players. I know you don't care about my opinion.
That doesn't give you a license to misrepresent me.
Two of the best to ever do it. When you look at Moses Moody, what he did in college.
Are well within their rights to note that he is espousing that opinion on a personality-driven program that employs him as a personality during the NFL season. That context does matter here. The other context that matters.
And that's why
ESPN
sucks. All right, welcome back. Shemeka Michelle, I got a video I want to play for you. Jasmine Crockett, the ghetto congresswoman out of Texas, someone has unearthed footage of Jasmine Crockett's behavior and talking style before she decided to become a ghetto queen, the ghetto queen of Congress. Let's watch the before and after video.
Absolutely. First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress. It's just not what my plan was. But what I've always decided is that I would step up when there was a need.
Listen, he up there, he's spewing all kinds of nonsense and bullshit. Let me just be real.
And we weren't gonna sit for that shit. We wouldn't, you know. But when she called me and said, I think it's time for me to retire, and you're the one that I believe should take my seat, I really was kind of caught off guard. I didn't anticipate that. If anyone knows anything about the Congresswoman, they know. We showed up, and if he had some sense, then maybe we would have been about that life. But y'all know he ain't got no sense. So please give some love. This took a little bit of coordinating to do, for sure. We got some cool shirts. You know, the congressional seat is over 4 times as large as my House seat. And I was just starting to get into the rhythm of doing constituent services and things like that. We got Madam Williams, who just happens to have the honorary seat. It's not even honorary because she's holding it down, y'all. But the legend himself, John Lewis, that is the seat in which she currently serves. So she honored his legacy. This is the message that she wanted to send today.
We've seen it a million times. You know, I saw someone, I think it was Jeff Charles or someone tweeted out, hey, that's code switching and blah. And people act like this is some skill we've developed, that's some positive we code switch. And all it is, code, it's just being fake. And so, yes, we have mastered the art of being fake in front of certain people for our benefit or for performative reasons. But they took a little suburban black girl next door, cute face, you know, went to a little private, I think Catholic, predominantly white high school in St. Louis, and said, hey, we're gonna dress you up as a Yaz queen from the ghetto when you get to Congress. We want you to come up out of character and we want you to play this different role. And so she's cursing and being loud, and she's leaning into the fake eyelashes and the fingernails and all of that. It's a clown show. We've seen it a million times. I'm not surprised by this video at all. Shemeka, your thoughts?
Jason, I'm going to be a little bit more bold today and say that black people are actually signing up to be the Democrat Party's monkey mascots, because this is exactly what they are. You know, not only was Jasmine Felicia Crockett not this ghetto person when she was a state representative, she was born to a pastor and his wife. So what she's portraying is not even the life that she actually lived. And we've known for a long time that it was a character. I even saw a video from, I think it was maybe 2020, when she actually was going for a state representative. She was very calm, just as we saw in this video, a little bit chubbier, eyelashes weren't as long and dramatic. And now that's all we see. She's lost a little weight. Now every time she opens her mouth, she's cursing, or she has to, you know, hit her hands together constantly, showing us those long fingernails, batting her eye. It's a gimmick. It's an act. And this is how I know this whole code switching thing is foolishness. I don't know how to code switch, Jason. And for those of us that actually grew up a little less favorable, you know, we try as hard as we can to actually represent ourselves or represent where we come from in the most favorable way. We're not trying to always give you ghetto. We're not trying to go over the top to make you think, oh, we're down, or we, you know, are gangsta bees. We don't do that. We just actually present ourselves the way that we are, hope that you like it, hope that you hear what we have to say, hope that is useful to you, and we go on about our business. There's no actual act that we have to portray by doing all of these extra things. If you look at someone like myself or Angela Stanton King, we try to button up when we go in places, you know, like the White House or whatever, but it's still us. We don't have to code switch or, oh, I'm on the Breakfast Club, so now I'm going to be a little bit more ghetto. There's none of that. So I always knew Jasmine was what I would call someone who went to county schools. They act totally different from those of us that went to city schools, but you could tell it was an act because she just tries way too hard.
I'm going to say that, okay, let's say you do go on the Breakfast Club and you know you're talking to a hip hop audience. And so you may end up using words that are familiar to hip hop fans. And you will maybe, because you're speaking to that audience, that demographic, you'll speak in a language that's comfortable for them. What Jasmine Crockett's doing, though, is, trust me, she's gathered some co-stars, some other actors to help a performance that the audience she's trying to talk to actually is a white audience. And she's trying to, hey, I'm hardcore against Donald Trump and I'm in your face and blah, blah, blah. She's not trying to speak to a black audience. A lot of the things she's doing, particularly when she's inside the house and speaking and doing all this ghetto stuff, she's actually putting on a ghetto performance for white folks. The other thing that I know people that are anti-Trump are thinking is like, you're going after Trump, but Trump is the person that has actually lowered the standards for politicians in terms of behavior. Where I would say they're wrong is Trump, the way he behaves, is the way he behaves in business, the way he behaved on the show The Apprentice. It's like he's only got one form of Donald Trump. It's over the top, it's a little direct, it's politically incorrect, it's consistent. And if he's speaking in front of the National Association of Black Journalists, he's gonna talk the same way to them as he does. Again, if anything, that's what annoys me, is it's like he's speaking in front of Congress and he sounds like the exact same guy that was speaking to the NABJ people, speaking, on The Apprentice or all that other stuff. He's just very authentic. That's what I would say the difference is. And me and TJ kind of, and I can't do TJ's argument justice, but we almost had some kind of disagreement about how the standards have actually been lowered for all politicians. But my argument was like, well, Jasmine Crockett and they're taking their cues from rappers. Everybody is always trying to sound like, hey, I just walked off the set of a rap video when they go into this performance deal. And that's what I find crazy. It's like Snoop Dogg is the Pied Piper for all these people, and we actually used to know, like, hey, I'm now a politician. This is how politicians behave. It's no different than, I love Richard Pryor. I loved Eddie Murphy. I love blue jokes. But when I went into church, I was like, oh, I'm in church. I ain't cracking these jokes. I ain't even laughing at these jokes. I'm in church. There's a way I'm supposed to act. When I'm around my grandmother, God rest her soul. It's like, oh, I'm in front of my grandmother. I'm not going to be talking to her like I talk to my boys. It's like, I just don't understand how we got to where, hey, as a politician, I need to act like I'm Cardi B. Why not act like whoever you think the greatest politician was? Conduct yourself that way. That's what baffles me. I'm throwing the ball back to you.
Jason,
take us to the finish line.
If I was on the Breakfast Club, I would reference, let's say if I was doing a movie reference, I would say poetic justice. In comparison to if I was in front of a white audience, I would use Pretty Woman. That's as far as I can do the whole code switching thing, just kind of knowing your audience, knowing what they may be into. I remember being in Milwaukee and singing the song to Laverne and Shirley before I opened up my speech. It's kind of that sort of thing. What we're seeing now, though, from these women in these high positions, I agree, is this ghetto, let me be a rapper, let me pretend to be something that I'm not, and it's just It's just not authentic. We see this with Tiffany Maynard, whatever her name was, or Haynard, whatever.
Tiffany
Yeah,
Henyard.
just ghetto. We saw this from the lady in Georgia when she was sitting for the hearings and she was all slouched down and acting ghetto. These are women that are educated, that have gone to college, that should be representing themselves more like Condoleezza Rice. But instead, they are coming with the Cardi B. And I do feel like because it's seen as the thing to do, whether it's in front of white people or if it's in front of black people are loving this and they are eating it up. And it frustrates me that we're so caught up in black being about a certain behavior that we fall for it. If we look back at Obama was not this Chicago, round-away boy that was on the corner smoking cools or, Newports or whatever. But because he had somebody that helped him out, he came across as if he had a little bit more swag. I don't know who's doing it now, but whoever is doing it now should be fired because it didn't work for Kamala. It's not working for Jasmine Crockett. It looks silly. We had Kamala tell us that she washed her greens in the bathtub. I was making turnip greens the other day and I had both sinks filled with water and I, washed them in one and put it in the other sink and then washed it in that, filled some new water. And I was thinking, how could she do this in a bathtub? But people actually fell for it. And they're falling for this act that Jasmine is putting out there. And it just shows that the bigotry of low expectations that we have as Black people, that we think this is the way to be. It's embarrassing and it's not okay. But as long as Black people fall for it and think, okay, this is the one that likes me. This is the one that, could be my best friend in my head. She's going to get something done for me. We're going to fall for the same foolishness because this is how we identify so-called Black people based on behavior. And we're more accepting if that behavior is what most would call ghetto.
You referenced Laverne and Shirley, so I'm going to ask you a quick trivia question before I bid you adieu. What show was more popular, Laverne and Shirley or Happy Days?
Happy Days. I think
thought the
Happy
exact
Days
same
was more
thing.
popular. Yeah.
I thought the exact same thing. Laverne and Shirley was more popular than Happy Days. Laverne and Shirley, like 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, was the #1 show in America. And I'm like, the spinoff from Happy Days was more popular than Happy. It blew my mind. I just saw that the other day.
Mine too, because they didn't have Chachi. Yep. I don't know how it was more popular without Chachi.
Yeah, they didn't have Joni either. Anyway, thank you, Shemeka. Enjoy your weekend. We're going to play some Listen or Lose. Next. Welcome to Extra Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Oh my God, Lyndon Johnson, his thoughts are so disgusting. I can't believe you would engage with him. The celebration for being a slut have never been greater. Why do you choose Taylor Swift and why do you pick up a role as, let me help my woman undress on stage in front of an audience?
When I look at people like Sexy Red or Cardi B that we prop up, now I see that the white community as well is just as fried.
It does look to me like he made some eye contact with her and then just decided, nah, let me move on. The BET Awards seems like a psyop at this point. It's just Democratic brainwashing. Get in there and fight for, the thing. Steve, that's it for you. I'm done. All right, welcome back. Let's find out who's been listening, watching the show this week. Time for a little Listen or Lose. We have 3 contestants today: Alexander Wingfield, returning champion Lewis Parks, and Gordon Jackson is back. Are you skipping the Pride Parade, Gordon? I'm surprised you had time to rejoin us.
Yeah, I'll be actually skipping the Pride Parade to go to Fearless Roll Call here on beginning of May. So
awesome, awesome. That is awesome. Thank you, Alexander. Introduce yourself. Say hello to the audience.
How you doing? My name Alexander was shortened to Mel at 2 years old. I'm known as Mel TV Live in Los Angeles because I started broadcasting Little League baseball games. My father, who was not doing well in North Carolina, so I wanted him to see his grandkids play baseball in the Pacific Palisades, and the parents started seeing me doing it, and they wanted to make sure I did their games too. So here I'm on my 5th season, and the Palisades neighborhood burned down. But they call me Mel TV Live. I'm the Uber driver that wanted to drive you around when you were coming to see Coach JB, and you said that sounds like an assassination attempt. Well, it wasn't, Jason. So I'm here for you if you need me to drive you around in LA. And our Little League was adopted by the Cheviot Park Little League.
Welcome to Fearless with Alex.
Anyway.
To Fearless with Alex. Alex, we're going to mute you for a second, and we're going to have Lewis introduce himself. Lewis, our returning champion, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Good to be back. Great show, like always, Jason. And let's get more Steve Kim.
Oh, boy. All right, well, let's get to the question. Alex is first. So,
Jason, it's the first time in a long time we haven't had a female LOL contestant.
I'm sorry, Mel. Look, Alex.
The Uber driver.
Alex, you said so much. How could I remember what all you said? Let's go. Normally I root for everybody here, but I'm afraid that if Mel wins, you and I will never get another word in edgewise on this show.
Well, at least he's got a good voice,
He does. All right, Butter, let's get rolling.
All right, good luck, Mel, the Uber driver. Jason called Andrew Tate a blank. Was it A, warrior, B, chinless imposter, C, drill sergeant, or D, mixed nut?
Mel?
Mixed nut.
We've never seen Mel go quiet.
He got quiet of him.
Yeah, I know.
You gave him the mic. What happened to him?
He lost his voice. Cat got your tongue. Mel, you're 0 for 1.
I'll give him a chance, Jason.
He missed. He said D, mixed nut.
Oh, he said mixed nut?
Yeah, the right answer is C.
Sorry.
Next.
Jason said Andrew Tate is forming himself into a version of blank. Was it A, Larry Flint, B, Donald Trump, C, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or D, Diddy?
What did you say? Did you just say nigger?
Oh, my God.
Donald
Jason's
Trump.
on fire, guys.
Did he
Not
just
just
say
you,
nigger?
Mel. It's me, too.
I can't believe that.
I
He
said
just
Arnold
said nigger.
Schwarzenegger.
Oh, anyway, Mel, go ahead. What's your answer?
Donald Trump.
Oh.
Got it.
Next. Butter, watch your mouth here with this next one. Go ahead.
Won't get me in trouble, Jason. Jason said Skip Bayless made LeBron James blank. Was it A, conscious of his hairline, B, punkish, C, political, or D, polarizing?
Polarizing.
Right.
Mel's back on his grind. Next.
He's grinding, baby. Steve Kim missed what while watching Davis Roach fight? Was it A, UCLA, USC women's basketball? Was it B, Coach JB reruns of Last Chance U? C, Squid Games? Or D, Brianna Stewart versus Angel Reese, unrivaled game?
Why didn't you put Honora, that porno that won the Oscar? That should have been an option here, but anyway.
Women's
I'm sorry,
basketball.
Mel, you got
UCLA,
the answer?
USC women's basketball.
Yes, sir.
Mel does watch the show. All right, next.
Jason, you mentioned porn on this. I'm lost here. All right, last one, Mel. Steve Kim said Maxx Crosby should be the Raiders blank. Was it A, Reggie White, B, Herschel Walker, C, Bobby
Boucher,
or D, Russell Wilson, my guy Russell Wilson?
Reggie White.
Ooh. It was Herschel Walker. Great job, Mel.
Put up a 3-bagger, Jason.
Well, I know. We'll see. Lewis?
Real quick, can I say one more thing? My neighbor.
Go ahead and mute Mel. Go ahead and mute Mel. Put Mel in the butter box. Put Mel in the butter box. Lewis, can we mute Mel? Lewis, go.
I don't know if we can mute these guys.
All right, well.
Muting.
Oh, my bad.
So it's like golf. All right, come on, Big Lou. Steve Kim said, which presidential regime was the worst? Was it A, Frank Underwood, B, George Bush Jr., C, Jimmy Carter, or D, Uncle Joe Biden?
Oh, man, that's got to be Sleepy Joe. D.
Ooh.
Next.
Returning champ, don't miss. Jason called Jeremy boring, all these things but one. Which one is it? Was it A, closeted leftist, B, talented, C, frustrated filmmaker, or D, vaxxed and boosted?
Oh, that's B.
Next. He's killing it.
Steve Kim said the education system has become merely indoctrination. He praised this group being ahead of the curve with homeschooling. Was it A, the Koreans, B, anti-vaxxers, C, the TV series Teen Mom, or D, the Amish?
That's D, the Amish.
Oh my God, Lou is just running through this.
Jason gets all of his cheese every week. He gets Amish cheese and brings it here to the studio.
Next, you're turning into Mel.
Jason said Alex Jones was ahead of the conversation by blank. Was it A, calling his show InfoWars?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's A, calling his show InfoWars.
We just need to call this show Big Al.
Yeah.
Big Lou.
The Olympic thing's pretty good. Whoever came up with that, that's good. Next.
Steve Kim named 2 elite athletes that succeeded as front office executives. They were, was it A, John Lynch and Ozzie Newsome, B, Patrick Roy and Steve Yzerman, C, Ozzie Newsome and Jerry West, or D, Gordon Bombay and Herman Boone?
Oh, man, that's C. Too easy.
Oh, he's in a zone. He went 5 for 5. Gordon Jackson, let's go to Gordon.
I don't think he's missed a question since he's been on this thing.
Let's go to Gordon Jackson so he can get to the Pride Parade and still make roll call. Gordon, go ahead. Gordon, Butter, Max.
I'm pulling for you, Gordon. I'm pulling. Jason said Steve.
That's TMI there, Butter. TMI.
I said I'm pulling for him, not on him.
We don't need your rub and tug information.
All right.
Next.
Jason said Stephen A. Smith was blank for having Candace Owens on his platform. Was it A, trying to see if she likes chocolate, B, courageous, C, arrogant, or D, generous?
Oof. I'm going to have to go with B, courageous.
Courageous.
Good job, Gordon. Next.
Jason, I'm going to need your help on this, okay?
Yep.
I'm just letting you know.
Yep.
Jason noted this acting method infiltrated Hollywood as a hidden communist tactic. Was it A, Marxist method mastery, B,
the Medea method,
C,
Chekhov acting technique,
and D,
Stanislavski system? Gordon?
Well, you guys definitely don't pander towards the LGBTQ here on this show. It's a difficult question. I'm going to go with D, Stanislavski system.
We got us a game.
We got us a game. Yep.
Fourth quarter, guys. Jason said blank should be America's Andrew Tate. Was it A, Jasmine Crockett, B, Tucker Carlson, C, King Randall, or D, Clarence Thomas?
I'm going to go with C, King Randall.
Coming down to it, Jason. Better get those get that tiebreaker ready. Steve Kim said the best right-handed pitcher during his lifetime was blank. Was it A, Bob Gibson, B, Babe Ruth, C, Roger Clemens, or D, Ricky Vaughn?
I admit I'm not a baseball guy. I'm going to go with D, Ricky Vaughn. Final answer.
Oh, no, he's wrong there.
He's wrong.
That's from the movie Major League. That was a
false
layup.
positive.
He wasn't even alive during Bob Gibson and Babe Ruth. Gordon blew it.
He's not a baseball fan. That's
Lewis
why.
has won 2 in a row.
Lewis, all time.
Lewis, I normally would give you the final thought, but I'm actually going to give it to Alex Mel here because you know it'll be the last time he's on the show because he took up too much time. So say your farewell, Alex Mel. Anybody else in your family you need to shout out?
No, just Pacific Palisades, say a prayer for us. We lost our whole neighborhood, and our Little League is now playing at Cheviot Park, which is wonderful, but that we all burned down out there, and it was really rough for us. But say a prayer for the Pacific Palisades. Thank you.
Hey, did you actually lose your home in that fire?
I lost my home, and my landlord died in the fire, and my kids' school burned down, and we had to move our whole Little League. Cheviot Park took us in. We'd love to have you come out, Jason, and be a celebrity guest broadcaster during one of my games. I would love to see you out here, and I think that would be wonderful. The fans would love it.
Hey, man, we will pray for you and wish you well. And
Thank you, buddy.
appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me,
Lewis,
buddy.
congratulations. You get $100 in Bitcoin to your Fold app. And
racking up.
We'll see you again next week. Butter, I'm going to let you get into your weekend while I finish up this show. Give me a second here, and I got a little wrap-up. It'll be roll call related and just related to this beef that I got going on with Jeremy Boring. Next. Men, it's time to rise. Our country, our faith, our future, all under attack. I'm bringing the boldest voices to Nashville. Roll Call 3.0 is your call to action. Join me, join Tucker, and let's take a stand together. May 2nd and 3rd in Nashville. I am Jason Whitlock, your host.
Went without so that he could give you an abundant life. Now it's time for you to evade the ego trip so that someone else can live better. Amen.
It's necessary that we decide to become men of character, of godly intent.
He gives power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increases strength. Even you shall faint and be weary. Young men shall utterly fall. Jason, I know you called it to preach off, but I feel like preaching up in here right about now.
All right, welcome back. I want to try to put a bow on this social media beef that I've been having with Jeremy Boring, the CEO of the Daily Wire, and try to land this plane in a way that leads to a larger point. And it connects to everything that I've been trying to do, we've been trying to do, we've been accomplishing with the Fearless movement. And it connects to why roll call is important and why I'm so passionate about it. And again, why I'm passionate about this whole Fearless movement. I'm trying to pass on the wisdom that I've gleaned from a life full of mistakes. And I feel like part of my mission with the rest of my life is to pass on the wisdom that I've gleaned and to talk about myself as transparently as is absolutely necessary, no matter how embarrassing it is. To talk about myself transparently and then pass on this wisdom so that other young people, old people, other men don't have to make all the mistakes that I made. And I'm trying to model a level of self-awareness, self-reflection that I think is necessary if we really want to honor and obey God and if we want to reach young people and guide them in a better direction. And so with roll call, we're trying to bring men together in an alliance under Christ, in Christ. And everybody thinks they're in Christ. And just because you think it doesn't mean you are. And just because everybody at your church thinks you're in Christ doesn't mean you are. Just because you're me and you host this show and you're leading Fearless, it doesn't mean I'm in Christ. It doesn't mean that I'm honoring and obeying Christ. There's a process and there's a cleansing and there's a repentance and there's a level of self-awareness that we all need if we're truly going to be in Christ. And so you may be the most popular minister in America. You may have a congregation of 20,000 people. You may have a congregation of 20 people. But you should be on a path of pursuing holiness, and that path starts with standing in the mirror and trying to pick away the things that lead you away from God. And so I think Jeremy Boring is misguided. And I think that some of the things that he does are misguided. I think that the Derek Chauvin pardon deal, I think it's a mistake. I think it's bad strategy. And I said so. And I didn't say so with any level of animus. I didn't say so out of any vindictiveness. I said, I'm a critic, and if you watch this show, I spend a lot of time criticizing myself and raising myself up in my previous behavior and some of my current behavior. It's like, hey, this isn't the way. And that's why we invite men to Nashville every year. I try to bring in great speakers. We've done that this year with Doug Wilson and Pastor Corey Brooks and Alan Jackson and E.W. Jackson and Anthony Walker and myself. And we're bringing in Tucker Carlson for a special Friday event. And Randy Houser's going to come sing for us. But anyway, I'm trying to put together an enjoyable weekend of male fellowship. And now we've opened up opportunities for you to bring your woman or for women to come and participate in certain aspects of this. But mostly what we're trying to do is point men a better direction, myself included. And so people think that I'm just being rude or vindictive or mean when I say, what's this dude doing calling himself the God King? Even as a joke. And then I share with you all, hey, I've made this mistake. I spent many years jokingly calling myself Big Sexy. It's a double entendre, big mouth, sexy opinions. Spent a lot of time doing that. But the double entendre is like, hey, I'm a big guy and I'm sexy and I'm some sort of ladies' man. And it's like that moniker that I took on that is outside my Christian identity, it helped damage me. Took pride in being a big guy and being overweight. Took pride in how many foolish sexual conquests could I do? Could I brag to my friends that I slept with this woman or that woman and she was hot and she was this age and she blah, blah. It led me down a path of unrighteousness, the nickname that I adopted. The title and the identity that I adopted outside of Christ. And so it was like last year at Roll Call, we talked a lot about, hey man, don't put on any other identity other than Christian. Send out a bat signal to everyone and to yourself. Just call me a Christian. And then when you take that identity on, it locks and boxes you in. It corrects you when you make mistakes. It's a reminder every day that, hey man, I'm out here representing Jesus Christ. I'm in Christ. I can't do this, I can't do that. This whole, it's why I got to reject this whole other big sexy identity, because that leads me away from God, that leads me into unrighteousness. And so I've said, like, this guy's calling himself the God King. And I've tried to explain to people that don't seem to get it, because perhaps they're not as smart as they think they are. That leftists, the entire alleged enemy that conservatives think they're fighting, leftists think of themselves as God. Leftists say, hey, I was born a man, but I feel like a woman. So I'm going to reject the chromosomes and the identity that God gave me and adopt an identity that I'm comfortable with. That's the mindset of a leftist. Hey, God defined what marriage is. God did that. There would be no marriage without God and the Bible. Leftists said, we're going to redefine marriage. Marriage is now between two men, two women. They can go out and adopt babies or have babies through surrogacy and all that. And we're going to redefine the family, because I'm a leftist and I'm smarter than God. And I get to redefine what marriage is. That's a leftist. Y'all think a leftist is someone that believes in big government. Y'all think it's someone that believes in high taxes. I don't. I think it's someone who thinks they're God and thinks they're smarter than everybody else. They're chosen, they're selected, they're the ultimate authority on everything and everybody. That's a leftist. And so when I called Jeremy Boring a closeted leftist, I'm talking about a man who's taken on a moniker that he thinks is a joke, but it actually is a reflection of his mindset and his ego. He's God. And how dare Jason Whitlock disagree with me about Derek Chauvin? And so what do leftists do when their subjects, the people beneath them, disagree with them and say, I have a different position on that? They smear them unfairly most of the time. They distort what they say. They do what was done to Trump of, oh, the very fine people thing, he meant it this way. Oh, he said you should take bleach to cure COVID. They smear, they take Trump out of context. Jeremy Boring gets publicly disagreed with by me, someone who he thinks he's better than. And so, yeah, let me come back the next day and say, Jason Whitlock says Christians should embrace Andrew Tate. Didn't say it. Anybody with a brain knows I didn't say it. There's no way you watch the clip and think that's what I said. Anybody that believes that is lying to themselves because they're cowards. And say, oh, how dare you disagree with Jeremy Boring? Don't you know he runs the Daily Wire? He's on the conservative team. And maybe he is on the conservative team, because you've heard me say on this many, many times, I'm not a conservative. I'm a Christian. And I get that all of you love to throw around the word conservative, and that means something to you. And I've said on this show, what can conservatives not do that liberals do? And I say nothing. If a liberal decides, hey, you know what? I need to take on a side piece and step out on my wife or step out on my husband. You can do that as a liberal. You can do it as a conservative. And conservatives do it all the time. You get cut off in traffic by someone you don't like or someone you think you don't like. As a liberal or a conservative, you can say, hey, F you, blow your horn and give them the finger. Liberals and conservatives do that. You know who can't do it or shouldn't do it if they're in the right mindset? A Christian. A Christian's default is like, oh man, I can't do that. I'm a Christian. God says that's wrong, and that I should control my emotions, and I shouldn't flip off people, and I shouldn't let someone else control my reactions and put puppet strings on me. I shouldn't step out on my wife. I'm a Christian. That's this whole conservative, liberal dynamic. I don't buy into it. It has no purpose. You're not a better person because you're a conservative. You're not. You're just a closeted leftist. You're just someone who thinks, hey, I'm the God King. I make the rules around here. I decide what the appropriate behavior is. I decide who gets to disagree with me in public. I get to decide if I want to smear someone because I've lost control of my emotions and I have no respect for this person. Yeah, I get to smear them. I get to take to Twitter, oh, he's a Jew hater. Oh, Ben Shapiro cures cancer. Jason Whitlock will criticize it. Oh, Jason Whitlock said we need to embrace Andrew Tate. You get to do any and all that. Because you're the God King. You're a closeted leftist. None of you have to like this, because I know many of you see yourself as a conservative and you think that makes you better than the other side. Doesn't. Just makes you better at concealing who you really are. You're someone that doesn't want to obey God. And you sat here and listened to me say on this show, and I say it, and I mean it, and I believe it. I'm seeking alliance with people who view themselves as servants of Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. You know why I'm seeking alliance with them? Because I need help in obeying Jesus Christ. Because I have the same instincts. I want to be my own God. I want what I want. I want to have sex outside marriage. I can get real graphic and tell you what I want, but that you can figure it out. I haven't been to one in many years, but I still want to go to strip clubs. And so I've had to change up everything, my friends and my conversation, everything, so that I'm not thinking about these worldly, wicked desires that live within all of us. And I had to say, hey, this nickname Big Sexy, it's a detriment, it's an impediment. Makes me want to be gluttonous, makes me want to go out and chase tail. Jeremy Boring wants to be the God King. And he is the God King over at the Daily Wire. I serve a different God. And that, Jeremy, that's whether it's lowercase or uppercase. Because you put it in lowercase, it doesn't mean that, blah, blah. Miss me with all that. This is why you as a man need to be coming to roll call. Because I'm going to put you in conversation with and connect you with other men committed to sharing biblical wisdom and a biblical identity and understanding of who you are and what identity you need to adopt if you're really serious about following God. All these other identities will drive you away from God. That's why people run, I'm gay. Well, okay, you're gay. You're going to do some gay stuff and you're going to be in objection to Jesus Christ. I'm conservative. Okay. You're going to do some stupid conservative stuff because they're free to do anything. There's gay conservatives. There's transgender conservatives. Bruce Jenner's one. All these identities that you've taken on, they allow you to do any and everything and see yourself as God. You take on that Christian identity, and it's a daily reminder. It's an hourly, minute-by-minute reminder. I'm not God. I actually serve God. I actually obey God, make my best efforts to, and it makes you recognize when you're in error. And so we sit around and wonder why leftists and closeted leftists never realize when they're in error, because they're God. Go to fearlessrollcall.com. We want you here. I want to pass on this wisdom. I want Pastor Wilson to pass on this wisdom. I want Alan Jackson. I want Corey Brooks. I want Anthony Walker. I want E.W. Jackson. I want Tucker Carlson. I want to pass on this wisdom to you so you know how to truly stand with God. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all those moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'll break my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want